So today I'm going to walk you through some of the steps that will help you to ace the writing portion of your SOL. It's a subject that a lot of people struggle with, and it's super important for a lot of reasons. You have to pass the English SOL in order to graduate. If you manage to advance pass on your SOL, you get 100 for your exam grade. So one of the things that you can do in order to prepare is to know the steps to do to get that grade of passing or passing advanced. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how to attack the prompts and how to make them make sense to you. Here's an example of a writing prompt that you might get on the administration of the SOL. Here's the prompt. Think about the benefits of working with a group or working alone. Which do you feel is more beneficial? Write to convince your teacher of your preference, either to work with a group or to work alone. Support your position with reasons and specific examples. Okay? Most of the writing prompts are going to be like this. They're going to ask you, would you rather this or this? Or which is better, this or this, right? The structure is going to stay mostly the same. You're going to have to come up with an argument about which one is better. The first thing to do when you get the prompt is to make sure you break it down. What is the prompt asking? In this case, it asks you which is better. Working in a group or working alone. So if you wanted to write an essay all about how teachers would not or should not assign more work, that's not within the scope of this essay, and you'll get 0 points for what you're writing because it's off topic. So the first thing to think about are what are the sides, right? What can you argue? What do you know? Keep in mind that sometimes you might argue something that you don't believe just because it's easier. So if they're asking you about group work versus working by yourself, you might love group work, right? But yet you can think of more reasons why working alone is beneficial. Or, right, you might do it the opposite way. It doesn't matter what your actual beliefs are, it matters what you can best argue. So in this case, the first thing that you have to do is to ask yourself, what are the benefits of group work? What are some of the benefits of working alone? If you can successfully break that down into a list, you'll come up with the pieces that you need in order to write the essay. So, group work, right, versus working by yourself. In terms of group work, right, some of the benefits. You can get a lot done. If you have a group project and everyone takes a piece or everyone takes a part, again, you can accomplish an awful lot. Another benefit of group work is that you get to meet new people, right? So you might not know someone in the class. Working with them is going to help you develop a relationship. Another benefit of group work is it's a time within the day where you get to socialize. Sometimes in class you have to sit there quietly and take notes. So this is going to actually allow you to talk and interact. You could mention that it teaches teamwork, right? And another thing that it does is to help you by teaching others. Teaching a subject sometimes is the best way to learn it. So those are all of the benefits of group work. You also might want to consider some of the benefits of working alone, right? Benefits of working alone means that things like one person, right, might not necessarily be as distracted as a whole group, right? When it's one person, you don't have to worry about not everyone participating equally. There's always one slacker who doesn't pull his or her weight. It's also nice sometimes when you work alone because it's your work. You can work up to a particular standard and you don't have to worry about relying on others who might be absent or who might not want to do the project or who might not want to participate. Once you come up with your list, where you analyze the benefits of this and you think a little bit about what side you want to argue, then you can craft your thesis. Your thesis is one statement that says what you will argue. Because the SOL is typed and you only have 54 lines, your thesis statement is going to be answered in 2 pieces or 2 parts, right? As a practice, I ask you to ask yourself a number of these questions and then come up with a sentence where you could break it into 2 parts. So if I asked you, what are different types of popular music? You should be able to answer, types of popular music are rap and rock. It doesn't matter what 2 pieces you pick, but you should be able to come up with 2 parts. Again, what are reasons people can be fired from a job? People can be fired from a job for not showing up to work or breaking the rules. There's lots of different things that you could choose, but you have to be able to break it down, any question that they give you on the SOL, into 2 pieces or 2 parts. What are snack foods that people get at the movies? Your thesis, snack foods include popcorn and nachos. So any question that you get, you should be able to divide into 2 parts. So here are some kind of thesis statements. Problems with group work include one person doing all the work and too many distractions. That's a great thesis, right? You've got 2 pieces that you're then going to argue. If you prefer to work alone, right? The advantages of working alone include having ownership of the project and not having to deal with infighting, right? Another thesis, if I wanted to talk about group work, right? The advantages of group work are meeting new people and getting more work done. So it doesn't matter whether you argue for group work or for working alone. Whatever topic you choose, you have to break it down into 2 parts or 2 pieces. So the benefits of group work are this and this, or the benefits of working alone are this and this. You're always going to break that thesis into 2 pieces. When you begin your introduction, you've written your thesis first, but that pre-writing or brainstorming needs to get put to the side because your thesis is going to be your last sentence in your intro paragraph, right? The first thing that you need to come up with is a hook. Right? You want to get your audience interested in your topic, so you need to start outside the topic itself. You don't start with your thesis. That's like getting slapped in the face, right? You want to initiate your audience into what you're talking about. So here are some strategies that you can use. If you can't come up with one, try another one, okay? One easy way to begin with a paper like this is with a generalization. A generalization is a big, broad statement. So if you started a paper like, there are many different types of assignments given in school, that's a generalization, okay? Then you'd have to think about the different types of assignments that are given in school, but that's a beginning piece, right? So that's one option, is using a generalization, right? One kind of big, broad statement, right? You can also use a simile or metaphor, right? Where you compare things. So you might say for this particular essay that working together is like an assembly line. Then you'd have to explain why. You can also start with a little vignette. A vignette is a story that illustrates a point. And again, you might take the vignette from pop culture, or you might take the vignette for something that you know. So an example of a vignette, if I'm writing about the dangers of drunk driving, I might start with a little story about a college student studying for finals at the library. And as she studies for her chemistry final, she hopes to get an A for the semester. Yet tragically, on her way home, she was struck and killed by a drunk driver. That's going to lead to my thesis about not drinking and driving. So that's a vignette, a little story. You can also start with a quotation. And some people say, well, I don't have quotations memorized. But you do. Think about all of the things that you know from popular songs. You're always plugged into your iPod. What lyrics do you know? So if you're given a particular prompt that asks you to think about problems in school, right? Or what you would change in school, think for a second about song lyrics that you know that deal with change. And there's lots of them, right? There's a song called Changes. Tupac has a song that says, I see no changes here. John Mayer has a song called Waiting on the World to Change, right? There are tons of different songs out there that deal with change. So you could always use a quotation. You can also use a definition, right? You're going to define what something means. So for this particular prompt, you could define, right, what an assignment is, right? Or define what a project is. And again, you're using and putting it in your own words, what you think something is. So again, put it in your own words. These are your magic bags of tricks so that you don't ever sit there staring at a blank cursor, right? These are all intro strategies that you can use. So pick one for whatever question you're asked. If you want to, you can start again with a definition. If you don't like the definition that you come up with, see if you can think of a song lyric that works or an old saying that works. We've all heard the saying, the early bird catches the worm. We've all heard certain sayings like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Would those be quotations that you could use for this particular one? A vignette. What do you know from pop culture, from history, or from personal experience? Can you create a simile or a metaphor with a situation? Can you come up with a generalization? Many people today struggle in school. Okay, that's a generalization. So all of those are parts of the way that you start your paper. Pick one strategy with which to start. Then, once you've picked your hook, you're going to explain it in 2 sentences. So, if you start with a generalization like many teachers give assignments in school, how can you elaborate, right? These assignments include tests and quizzes. Sometimes teachers even give projects. That's your explanation. If you started with a simile or a metaphor, right, you have to be able to explain it in 2 sentences or so. Right? So once ever you have your hook, if it's a quotation, explain what the quotation means. Right? So if I started my paper with a quotation like the poet and rapper Tupac once said, I see no changes here. What does that mean? Explain it, right? He was looking in his community for changes to occur, but again, he saw no changes in a positive fashion. Instead, his neighborhood remained plagued by problems with drugs and crime. There's my explanation. Right? Then you're going to transition to the topic. What are you actually talking about? Right? Good transition words include words like likewise, also, similarly. And then you're going to transition to the topic, whatever it is that you're writing about. In this prompt, they're asking you about group work versus individual. You also have to situate your topic, which means that you explain the sides. Some people prefer to work in groups with others, while some people prefer to work alone. They're also going to ask you questions like, is it better to take an online class or a face-to-face class? You'll have to explain that some people prefer online classes, some people prefer face-to-face kinds of classes. The very last sentence is going to be your thesis. And your thesis is always in how many parts? That's right, 2 parts. So group work is more beneficial because this and this. So that's how you do your intro paragraph when you write for the SOL. So going back to my topic, if I was arguing that group work was better, I might start with a generalization. Teachers assign many projects throughout the year. These projects might be in history, where students have to create a model of a famous place, or in English, where they have to write a poem. These projects can be done either in groups or individually. Some people prefer to work in groups, while other people prefer to work alone. It is better to work in groups because it provides an individual an opportunity to interact with others, and more can be accomplished. There's my intro paragraph, and all I've done is to follow that formula. When you get to your body paragraphs, the reason that you break your thesis into 2 is because you're going to have 2 body paragraphs. So the first thing that you should do is to restate your thesis piece number 1, right? So one reason group work is better is because it allows people to socialize, right? Then give an example. This might be something that you know in classes. While working on a history project, for example, I was able to meet new people and find out what their interests were, right? Give another example. Also, I was able to make new friends and learn to work together. And again, you're going to explain that working together helped to make the educational experience better or more enriching, right? For this reason, working in groups is better. That's going to be your body paragraph. So again, you restate your thesis piece, give me an example, explain it, give me one more example, explain it, and then say, for this reason, and restate that piece. Working in groups is better. You're going to do this twice. For the next body paragraph, add in a transition word like also, additionally, or likewise at the beginning of this sentence. Then you're going to restate your thesis piece number 2. So also, working in groups is better because, right, and put your reason. Then give me an example, explain it, give me another example, explain it, and one more time, you might say, because of this, working in groups is better. So that's your thesis link. So your thesis is so important because it's going to be the topic sentence for both of your body paragraphs. Part 1 is going to be thesis piece 1, body paragraph 1. Thesis piece 2 is body paragraph 2. So also, working in groups is better because, and you put in the second part of your thesis. When you get to your conclusion, they want to see that you can logically say why someone else is wrong. So in doing this, you have to think hard. What would somebody else say to prove you wrong? If somebody were to say, nuh-uh, what would they argue? And then, how would you deny that? The way to start this paragraph is as follows. Some people may say, and then you put in what other people might argue and why, but this is not the case. And then you're going to explain why. So many people may say group work is a problem because students get off task, but this is not the case, right? That socializing sometimes is just brainstorming, where students work harder on the project because they have time to talk and think, right? So explain why another side is wrong. Then you're going to restate your thesis, right? So because of this, group work is best because reason 1 and reason 2, and end with thus, right? And then restate group work is better. That formula right there will lead you to getting an advanced pass on your SOL if you just follow the format. They're looking for coherence, meaning that everything sticks together. They're looking for organization, which your thesis gives you. They're looking at maturity, meaning that you have a conclusion where you can anticipate what other people have to say. And if you follow this format, you're guaranteed to do well on the writing piece, as long as you go back and double check your grammar and your syntax, your sentence structure, to make sure that everything is as it should be. Use spell check. If you're not certain about a sentence, make 2 short ones so that you don't make any kinds of grammar errors. But if you follow this format, you will pass your SOL writing portion.